As we progress towards the later stages of our alpha exploration, the game becomes a lot harder to explore. In some parts this is because of connections frequently not being in place. But another consideration is that the different time periods count as completely separate map areas. So in effect, the rest of the world no longer exists in the files, and the open world aspect of Nosgoth ended prior to the Battle of the Last Stand. As mentioned in the previous video, although the Battle of the Last Stand is present in files, it's difficult to access, and it's almost necessary to skip beyond it to the past Nosgoth, starting again with the Stauberg Stronghold. There's an interesting wrinkle here in Retail, with the area Kain first emerges in actually being a different tile to the rest of the progression here. So Kain emerges in an area with closed doors, fights the first man-at-arms, gets given a flashback cutscene, and is then placed in a completely different map tile that looks the same, only with all the doors open. No such tricks are apparent in the alpha version, and only one version of the area is present, although it lacks the door on the inside of the rampart, and also the save altar associated with it.
At once the battlefield was gone. Where the ground was caked with blood and dirt, there was lush greenery. Where chaos reigned only moments before, this damning calm prevailed. Alas, it seemed I was stranded here. The time-streaming device lay in pieces at my feet, 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 at my feet.
Despite this area being originally seen in the last time period with heavy snow in the Retail version, both Retail and Alpha have it replaced with grass here, so the differences between versions are minimal, and perhaps the most notable change is the Alpha once again lacking the snowy cliffs seen in Retail. Time travel fans will note that the rampart is lacking its northern tower. This is the first of several time period related changes that will crop up through the next few areas.
At once the battlefield was gone. Where the ground was caked with blood and dirt, there was lush greenery. Where chaos reigned only moments before, this damning calm prevailed. Alas, it seemed I was stranded here. The time-streaming device lay in pieces at my feet.
Progressing further north leads us to Stahlberg as it appeared in the past. It's largely the same as the Retail version, with the biggest changes being that all the doors are closed and there are no interiors present, where Retail had many. Going still further north takes us to the Nemesis Colossus, which is just being constructed in this era, standing in the middle of an extended Stahlberg, which has not yet been demolished by the advance of the legions of the Nemesis. Again, this tile is much the same as retail, but has fewer open doors and no interiors connected. Like the retail version, there's now no connection to the Lake of Lost Souls, and the tile containing it doesn't exist in this era. Reaching the edge of the Nemesis castle, it's again possible to explore the passages to the left of the keep. In this version, the Spirit Forge is not connected. It can be accessed through exploration tricks, but this reveals the forge and the entrance room are much the same as retail, and are not connected in both this and the following time period. The second cave entrance seen in the previous era is blocked by trees here, and by immovable boulders on the other end, and the cave itself does not exist in the files for this period. The retail version will go further on this and remove the cave entirely. The clifftop time streamer mural and cave entrance are also gone. This tile does contain the northern end of the Lake of Lost Souls, but it's not intended to be accessible, and any attempt to progress south from there crashes the game. This leaves the now open main entrance as the only way to access the Nemesis Keep. But there's one problem. The Nemesis Keep isn't connected to the outside world, so it's necessary to use the level select to skip inside. Within the keep, the initial chambers are much the same as the retail version, and its previous present equivalent, with only minor changes such as an additional roof rafter seen in the alpha. As with the level select, the number card at the start represents the appropriate powers for this stage of the game. The alpha retains the choice of paths at the start of the dungeon, with the upper left passage leading on through the castle and the right passage going through to a sewer area. In the area that can initially be accessed, the sewer is much the same. As is the alternative passageway through the castle. Even the distinctive forked chamber after the paths have reunited appears to be almost identical. But from here on, things begin to change and break down. When the switch puzzle is completed in the forked chamber, the bottom door opens, but it's not possible to progress through, as the next area is not connected. In retail, that next area had another connection. It led backward to an inaccessible part of the sewer area for a few power-ups. So by backtracking and using some no-clipping action, we can reach that area. This reveals that the isolated area of the sewer has undergone some minor changes. In the alpha version, the top of the two long rooms is completely flooded, and the bottom is mostly dry. The retail has both flooded, with only small islands containing power-ups. Going through the door here takes us through to the next area that should have been. Here, there are a number of minor changes in carpet and wall decorations. The layout is much the same, but with the connection that would lead back to the forked chamber obviously broken. In the retail, the bottom right door leads to an area where William and Moebius can be overheard.
Pray tell, Moebius, what game do you play?
While the top leads up a corridor and onto the next room. But here there's no connection, and most of the corridor is missing, with the area looking unfinished and incomplete. Like the previous roadblock, there's another potential way around this though, by going down. The chamber where Kain overhears William and Moebius, which is actually counted as a boss preamble by the game, is much the same, although the position of the wall switch is slightly different, and the switch itself doesn't appear to function.
Yes, these weapons you have provided will see to that. Pray tell, Moebius, what game do you play?
None, my lord. I only wish to aid you in vanquishing your foes. The weapons are but a token of my goodwill.
And the news you bring, a vampire said to slay me? Where did you come upon such knowledge?
'Tis of no consequence, sire. 'Twas only out of concern for your majesty's life.
Perhaps. Very well, then. You may leave me now, but should I wish to speak to you...
I will know, your majesty, and I shall be there in time.
In the retail game, the lower area of this room could be revisited later on, so this could provide another potential route to move on through the stronghold. But unfortunately, the lower door is also unconnected, blocking any further progress. Examination of the files reveals that most of the rest of the known rooms are not even present. The only way to get to the next area is to use the level select to get to the boss fight and do a little backtracking as far as we can, to find what would be the next area in succession. This leads us to a completely new room, with an open door in the bottom left, with no connections, presumably meant to be leading from the rest of the castle. A wide spike pit prevents access to the area beyond, presumably implying a possession puzzle to get to switches on the other side. Beyond the doors here is a looped area dotted with hazards and smaller spike pits, including a number which actually seem intended to represent normal flooring. Back at the bottom are a sequence of switches, which likely open the closed door to the right. That leads into a room filled with water, save for a few islands. The door in the north leads to the next map tile. The following area suffers from considerable slowdown, but essentially represents a zigzag path between wide spike pits dotted by hazards. The door at the top right leads to the final area, and something a bit more familiar, where the battle with William will take place.
Ah, yes, the vampire. Moebius told me you would come.
This room, although bearing the same code as the boss battle from Retail, is slightly different from the plane of rooms seen there. The room here bears the map of Nosgoth that would later appear in the Retail in one of the rooms leading up to the battle, which is in reality a view of the Alpha version's world map. The battle room's square shape arguably makes it a better match for the map room than the boss chamber seen in Retail, perhaps suggesting that for the Retail version, the boss room was modified with doors and a switch alcove added to make the map room, and a new boss area was created in its place. Interestingly, none of the areas since our boss backtrack have been counted under the past Nemesis Keep designations. Instead, they've used the boss preamble coding. All 3 areas have coding that is reused for different areas in the final game. 521 relates to William's different battle chamber. 522 relates to the room where Kain was to gain the axes, which is missing from the Alpha. And 523 relates to the Dark Eden room where Kain collects Malik's helmet, which in the Alpha was at 31-2. Upon defeating William, there is no time streaming device given, and no transportation back to another era. With no way back, we're again forced to rely upon the level select for access to the next area, and I'll return to the present of Nosgoth. Join us next time as we go back to the future, confront Moebius, and return to the Pillars for the grand finale.